So, tonight's presentation, we are happy to present to you Dr. Jeff Menzise, who will be speaking on African psychology, modern initiations, and African traditions. Dr. Menzise currently serves as a research associate professor with the Morgan State University Institute for Urban Research. He received his bachelor's and master's degree from Fisk University in psychology and clinical psychology. He finished up his clinical training at Howard University, where he majored in clinical psychology with a minor in developmental psychology. Along with his PhD, Dr. Menzise received a graduate certificate in international studies with a concentration on political science and information and culture. He has put his education to work on both a local and global level. Internationally, he has worked with ministries of education in both the Caribbean and West Africa, conducting professional development workshops for teachers, administrators, family, students, and mental health staff. Locally, he has taught thousands of students in methods, philosophy, and science of psychology, as well as various techniques and philosophies of indigenous non-Western populations. He is an ordained multi-faith minister and has been initiated into several ancient and traditional African spiritual sciences, all of which he incorporates into his daily life and healing practice. Additionally, Dr. Menzise is a member of St. John's Lodge, number 3, Prince White Chapter, number 1, Holy Royal Archmasons, and King Solomon's Consistory, number 20, all Prince Hall affiliated in Cincinnati, Ohio. As a scholar, he has presented on a multitude of papers and workshops around the world. He is the author of 5 books and 2 decks of customized African playing cards, of which we have some in the back for purchase after the presentation. And he is also the host of the hit radio show Mind on the Matter. In tonight's presentation, Dr. Menzise will explore the philosophical consistencies found in African spiritual traditions, how they relate to modern-day concepts of African Black mental health, and how modern initiations serve to fulfill this ancient role. As an initiated priest in several African spiritual traditions, he will also provide practical wisdom found in these ancient traditions, showing how they can easily be applied to our day-to-day lives. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Jeff Menzise.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
I heard half of y'all. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
That's what's up. I did not pay her to say all of that stuff. I promised her. I'm feeling honored to be here this evening. It's always a blessing to be in the presence of my community, and especially my elders, some of which have been doing the work longer than I've been alive. And that's real. I mean, I feel very honored, very humbled to be here, and very prayerful that I have something worth your while to say to you tonight. I'm not claiming to present anything new. What I'm claiming to do tonight is to encourage us to think about things that all of us may have heard of in one way or the other. I'm here to present my thoughts on certain topics, and as I tell my students in the classroom, passing the course does not require you to agree with me. It doesn't require you to agree with me. Just think. Challenge me, ask questions. If I go too fast, slow me down. If I'm going too slow, speed me up. All right? I'm here as a servant this evening, and I hope I do y'all justice. All right? Y'all with me?
Yeah.
All right. Here's another disclaimer. I don't think I have to make it here, but I will anyway. If y'all get boring on me, I'm I'm gonna get boring on y'all. All right, y'all see that Clear Eyes commercial when the guy starts talking very slow?
No.
I do the whole 2 hours just like that.
Okay. I ain't seen it.
So we're doing that call and response thing, all right?
Yes.
Yes? That's what's up. Come on, be with me, y'all, because I'm feeding off of y'all's energy. All right, so as was presented, my topic today is African psychology, ancient traditions, and modern initiation. As stated, my background is in psychology. And I went through most of my matriculation through undergrad, never hearing anything about Africa, African spirituality, and how it relates to psychology. Then I ran into a guy named Raymond Wimbush. He was a psychology professor. I was actually a biology major at the time.
Whoa.
And he made a statement. He said, if you free your mind, then the rest will follow. I said, word. I said, I'm trying to be freed up. So that very next semester, I changed my major from biology to psychology, and I haven't looked back since. And so he taught a class called The Psychology of the Black Experience, or something like that. And in that class, one of our required textbooks was the ISIS papers.
Wow.
Right?
And I'm this dude from Cincinnati, Ohio, pants still hanging down to here, you know, still got all kind of illegal activities going on. Just kidding. Anybody recording? Just kidding. And you know, I mean, I still, excuse my language, elders, and I still thought I was a nigga. I really did. I did what I was told I was supposed to do as a nigga. I walked like I thought I was supposed to walk as a nigga. You know, all these other things were going on with me. And then I got that one little jewel. Said, you free your mind and the rest to follow. Started learning about the ISIS papers. And then got the nerve to bring Dr. Wells on the campus with Mr. Fuller. I'm just like, man, quit playing. You know, I mean, and then go throw me the keys and tell me to go pick folks up at the airport. I'm just like, my world is rocking right now. It was one point in time where I was in the van, had Chuck D, Harry Allen, Dr. Wells, Mr. Fuller, James Earl Jones, all in the van at the same time. And Max Roach was there too.
Oh, right. They blessed you.
Max was so laid back, yeah, blood. You know, he just so I mean, I'm just driving, listening to these conversations, and slowly began to realize that I had a responsibility that was bigger than myself. You know, I understood now that I need to present myself a little bit better. You know, I might not want to go pick people up from the airport smelling like weed, right? Just kidding. You know, all these different things are going on, and it's this transformative process that's taking place here. And I'm really understanding now in hindsight, more so than I did at the moment, that I was being grown into my purpose, right? I had made it as far as I did the way that I did so that I could make it as far as I had made it. Y'all follow me? But then it was time to shed that. It's like a caterpillar who fights to keep crawling on his belly eating leaves all day, right? You know, what sense would that make? You know, it's a lot of anxiety when a caterpillar has to spin that cocoon, right? I'm projecting anxiety. I know if it was me, I'd be nervous as all get out. All of a sudden get this urge to start wrapping myself up like a mummy. Because if you cut the chrysalis open, it is in there like wings folded, just like a mummy. Hang upside down, totally vulnerable to the elements, trusting in the process. And then once I emerge, guess what? No more crawling on my belly. Now I'm flying around. I'm getting it, right? I'm beautiful. I'm going from flower to flower now. I'm doing my thing. No longer worried about getting stepped on. Got to worry about little kids wanting to touch powder on my wings, but that's about it, right? It's a transformative process, and in hindsight, I know that that's what I was going through. And so what I did is I decided, I chose, right? I was presented with the option, and I chose to walk the path on purpose from that point forward. It wasn't easy. All kind of, man, you changed. Thank you. That was my response. I would have wasted a whole lot of time and a whole lot of money if I didn't change one way or the other. So, you know, my boys back home calling me out, they still calling me they nigga. It's like, man, I ain't been nobody nigga in a long time, bro. That ain't me. But I had to go through that. You know, I started changing my diet. My cousin loved him to life, being my cousin. Man, you want a bite of this? You know, I'm good. But every time it was in my face. And what I learned from that process is this. If you declare something for yourself, I'm no longer going to do X, Y, Z. Guess what you're going to get the opportunity to do?
X, Y, and Z.
X, Y, and Z, you're going to prove yourself a liar, you're going to prove yourself steadfast. One or the other. And so we have to be careful when we make those declarations. But see, this ain't the stuff that I was learning in psychology. Not in the classroom. This is the stuff I was learning in psychology of life. And then once I understood that the definition of psychology was the study of the soul, another one of them things happened. It just blew my mind. I said, wait a minute, hold on. Western logic and thinking and curricula and textbooks are telling me that psychology is a study of the brain, and human behaviors, right? And so it made it very, very tangible. It said one of these things: if you can't count it, if you can't measure it, if you can't taste it, touch it, see it, smell it, hear it, it don't exist, right? Because we're told that something is what? The scientific method, which means that the only method for science knowing is this. Anything outside of this purview, it's not knowledge. It's not science. It got to be that thing called pseudoscience, right? And so you telling me that when my wife woke up from a dream and said, I dreamt a tree was going to fall and hurt some folks. And then the next day, they got to evacuate her classroom because it's a tree rocking outside her window about to drop? That ain't knowledge? It didn't go according to the knowledge method. That's what science is, right? Skill. The knowledge method. But it was a method that my ancestors have been rolling with for a long time. Sidebar, all set. Deals with the moon, lunar cycles, right? Deals with the ocean, water, waves, altered states of consciousness, dream states, meditation, right? All of these things are directly related. It's the same reason why Yema Ya on the West Coast governs the exact same things that are said on the East Coast. Carl Jung jumped in there and said something called collective unconsciousness.
Right.
But in the psychology classes, they don't tell us that Carl Jung, studied amongst African witch doctors. He said it himself. But you got to dig for that. So I'm a seeker of truth. So one day I'm sitting in the library, so I'm looking on Google wisdom. Wisdom. Carl Jung documentary showed it. They showed this dude in Africa. He said, I couldn't consider myself a healer or something. He said, healer or a high priest or whatever, until I studied amongst the masters in Africa. He said that. Then I said, let me see what Sigmund Freud. I said, like, in the African in my brain, sick man. I couldn't shake it off. So let me see what dude was talking about, because they were freaking frat. Yeah. And so I said, what you doing, Freud? Let me see what you got. I had a serious block for Freud when I was learning it from that way. Then I checked out Freud. Google, not right now, class, but when y'all get homework. Google Freud in his office. And just take a look at all the statues on his desk. Take a look at the images on his walls of Ramses and the pyramids and the Ibis, Tahuti. Check that out. And then read about what he was praying to every morning in order to be able to interpret symbolism the way that he was. Dream interpretation. The work with the unconscious or with the soul. You see, when we're in psychology courses, we don't get that. A good psychology professor is one that makes you feel transformed by the time you get out of that class. That's a good psychology professor. Why? Because, I'm glad you asked. It's because we're presenting you with information about you. We should be handing you your owner's manual. How many of y'all got an owner's manual with your high-tech pocket computer phones? Everybody got one. We ain't reading them, but we get them, right? We get them. It tells you play by play what this thing can do. Did you get that for you? No. Get sleepy up in here. And I ask a question. I'm literally asking questions when I ask a question. All right? I want to hear somebody talk to me. You with me? Thanks, sis, because I'll fall asleep right on my feet.
We didn't get it, but it's out there available.
It's out there available. Yes, it's out there available. In fact, it's in there available. Right? So within, so without. And so as a psychology professor, that's what we're supposed to be doing. And all this is still by way of introduction. And so I was teaching at an HBCU at one point in time. And I taught the intro to psychology course exactly like it was outlined in the book, with one difference. I infused African Black psychology throughout the curriculum. I reserved the second week for Black and African psychology. Just the second week, that's it. 3-day course, 3 classes. That's not bad, right?
Right.
Wrong. Wrong. Right? My Charlie Murphy voice, wrong. I got called in. And it said, it was, the question was, somebody told me to ask you what kind of psychology you're teaching. Second week was African Black psychology. The 3rd through 13th week dealt with nothing but exactly what's in the textbook. I even used a little CD-ROM to do the PowerPoints just so that I could make sure, hey, I'm only doing what y'all told me to do. Except when I got to developmental psychology and started talking about Erik Erikson, guess what else I said? I told on Erickson, and I did it with his own words. See, I'm like I don't know what the proper word is, but I'm addicted to knowledge. And so I like buy books and stuff like all the time. Like I'm like, y'all know Dr. Greg Carr, right?
Yeah.
So this dude, I ain't seen it, but dude got books stacked to the ceiling from what I understand. And the heaviest thing to move when he got to move were books. And so I'm trying to beat his record. It's like a little silent little, nudge. But so I'm buying these books, and I found a book by Eric Erickson called Childhood and Society, right? And in Eric Erickson's book, Childhood and Society, excuse my language, elders, he said something to the effect of those anal sadistic niggas. He said that. Them anal sadistic niggas. Anybody in here took a psychology class from me? So y'all know the eight stages, right? That's all we get, right? It's trust versus mistrust, all the way up to that last stage, right? We'll never hear nothing about that though, right? And so I would do stuff like that. When we're talking about the psychoanalytical approach, I would talk about Freud in it. These are the things I would do. So that's the type of psychology I was teaching. Because I was more interested in developing a class of thinkers. Because I understand that we're raising the next generation by our presence alone. Y'all get that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
By virtue of where you are and how you're there, you're impacting the other people that are there, especially the little ones that are watching us. Right. And so Mr. Fuller taught me years ago. He said, you want to be able to say and do the absolute best thing possible whenever you're saying or doing anything. In other words, you want to show up the best you that you could possibly be showing up. It's like getting dressed and, y'all hate getting dressed and not going out though, right? But sometimes it just got to be that. Look good for you, right? Look good knowing nobody else going to see you. If you're picking your nose in private, do it in public too. Right? Be you, but be consistently you, whatever it is. I need to work on that. Work on it. Y'all following? Yeah. This is that psychology piece. And so throughout this presentation, I might not necessarily deal with psychological jargon and all these, I don't do well with the information part of things. I do very well with the understanding part of things. Okay. Y'all following what I'm saying? And so I'll present to you by way of understanding and not necessarily have a whole bunch of information and reciting a bunch of different stuff for you, if that's okay. And I understand it takes all kind. I think you taught me that, Dr. Hampton. He's my clinical supervisor, by the way. And he helped to raise me clinically, in psychology all through my graduate studies at Howard. And so he probably know me better than most, because he, as a clinical psychologist, them folks, they kind of push your buttons when they try to see who you are. He tried. He got me though. I appreciate you, Doc. But so that's what I'm gonna be dealing with, all right? More right brain stuff, less of the left brain. I'm also a symbolist. One of my elders back in Nashville, she actually helped initiate me into Olokun. So I'm a priest of Olokun, all right? And she's also a priest of Olokun, so she birthed my vessel from hers. So she told me this the other day. She said, in Ifa philosophy says to pass your words through 3 gates. First gate, is it true? Second gate, is it necessary? And the third, would I want this said to or about me? Said, if it can't pass through those 3 gates, it shouldn't pass past your lips. And so my presentation tonight, I'm hoping to keep in accord with this. This is my prayer tonight, is that my words are able to pass all 3 of those gates before they come out of my mouth. Y'all with me? Mm-hmm. All right, and this is something to live by right here. Especially that last part. We say do unto others as you would have them do unto you, right? And I think the missing part of that, because them folks are always bragging and stuff, the next part to me would say, because you are doing to yourself. If I'm the type of person that will leave my brother hanging, then I'm the type of person that's going to get left hanging by my brothers. Y'all follow? Mm-hmm. Because according to the African worldview, we are all connected anyway, right? We're mirrors of each other, right? I was just recently appointed the president of the DCABSI. So our past president, Dr. Afia Lily Shaka. Thank you. Appreciate you. Appreciate you. That was our first event co-sponsored with RKG. I really appreciate it. Y'all allowing us to ride the coattail and be a part of this event in more ways than one. Really, really appreciate that. Sorry? DCABSI, Association of Black Psychologists. And so what happens is that you were appointed. I was appointed, yes.
Supposed to be elected?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'll take a vote, though, if necessary. I ride with my community and my elders. If y'all say I need to be voted in, I'll set it up. I'm serious. I have no problem with that at all. So anyway, she and I have been talking about it for several years, you know, off and on. She carried that heavy for like 4 years. You know, she carried the presidency for 4 years. And so we talked about it. She said, come on, Jeff, come on, Doctor. So I said, all right, cool. So she called me on January the 2nd this year. Who knows what the significance of that date is?
That's
Dr.
when
Wells.
she's
It's
transition.
the date that Dr. Wells in transition. And she did it intentionally on that date. She said, Brother Jeff, I know that you and Dr. Wells were pretty close, and I think that it's time for me to go ahead and pass the baton, and we're going to do it on this day. I said, this day right now? She said, this day right now. And so, in honor of Dr. Wells and all of the African-centered scholars that have ever come before me, you know, I want to say thank you, thank you, thank you. All right. Let's get started. Now we're going to get started.
Ellie.
Pretty heavy quote here. The society that separates their scholars from their warriors will have the thinking done by cowards and fighting done by fools. Woo-wee. Take a second with that one. Take a second and sit with that one. It's thinking done by cowards and it's fighting done by fools. See, that's that segregative thing. That's that separation thing. That's that either or thing, right? That's that it's got to be this or it's got to be that type of thing. As opposed to, I'm sorry.
Sounds like America.
Sounds like a whole lot of things. It sounds like the epitome of the Western worldview. That dichotomous thinking, right? And it doesn't. I've been on the continent of Africa and ran into folks that's going, you know, what they say. And I was in Gambia. I think it was. I read How Europe Underdeveloped Africa. I think it was that, or either the destruction of Black African civilization. So either Walter Rodney or Chancellor Williams said, the colonized African is more Frenchy than the French and more British than the British, right? And so you got to look a little deeper now, you know, whether they're casting these broad nets over this type of people is that way and that type of people is this way. But anyway, when you have a situation like this, you're looking for doom, right? When you've got academics, when you've got teachers that are cowards, right? Then you have the necessary vehicle for miseducating the masses. Y'all get it?
Yeah.
When you have instructors who are afraid to open certain books for fear that it might shift their own perspective, you're setting us up for further miseducation and mental slavery. Y'all get it? And then when you got these folks out here that just diesel, but just dumb as all get out. Then you got folks that's gonna fight at the drop of a dime, and we still in trouble. Y'all get it? And so it's this holistic approach thing that we're talking about here. That's African psychology. That's how our worldview deals with this study of the soul. It sees it not as fragmented pieces, but as an entire collective. And each part of that collective could be attended to. And that you would likely benefit by attending to all these various aspects of your soul. Y'all with me? Yeah. Cool. African psychology. And so I was trying to find definitions of African psychology. I wanted a really concise definition of African psychology. And I got this. This is like that concise definition right here. This is the concise definition of African psychology. It's called Seeking the Saku, all right? And it's like the collective writings of Baba Wade Nobles. When you get a chance, get that book and read it so you know what African psychology is, all right? Yes, no?
What's it called again?
It's called Seeking Saku
Okay.
by Baba Wade Nobles. This is a collection of all of his writings. From his very first paper as a graduate student to some more recent writings that he did. Saku, yes, S-A-K-H-U. Wade Nobles. And I said, okay, I need something more concise. And so then I picked up our Shepsu, our honored ancestor, Asa Hilliard's book, Sabah, The Reawakening of That African Mind. This is one of the books that got me through grad school. I was citing this and Stolen Legacy all through my thesis. And yeah, it was pretty fun too, because I like to watch my committee squirm, and you know, I even made my dissertation, I had Wells and all through it. And that was at Howard. And I actually had a committee member drop off my committee. She said, Jeff, I can't sign off on this. I said, why not, Doc? She said, because you make it seem like all white people are bad. I said, Doc, you white and I love you. She couldn't do nothing. She had to sign my paper. She had to sign my paper. And then beyond that, you know, I'm supposed to be, you know, see, I think about that. I just disclosed that, right? To a room full of revolutionary folks. There is no contradiction there.
Right.
There's no contradiction. It's the truth. You know, she was trying to shut me down, and I mashed it out with pure love.
Right.
Please, yes, I know what I know about your ancestry. Yes, I know what I know about how y'all carrying things right about now. But I'm also clear enough to know that if I don't get you to sign this paper, I'm clear enough to know that not everybody does the same thing the same way. Y'all with me? And so she signed up, but then she wasn't available for my defense date. So the way that God works, the way our ancestors work, is that there was a brother. I went to one of my friend's dissertation defenses, and there was a brother there on his committee. And when she said, you can either reschedule it or you can find somebody else. What y'all think I did? I took that out, I was gone. And so I went and knocked on the brother's door and showing up. He was available for me with less than a week's notice. And so I got by. But I had all that stuff going on in my dissertation and my thesis and my academic study. And what it did, it helped to grow me and grow me and grow me and grow me and grow me. And what I feel like is that my ancestors put like this bubble around me to kind of protect me. And what I'm talking about here, I'm not necessarily talking about me. I'm talking about the ancestral works. I'm talking about what diving headfirst into our culture and our spiritual studies does for you, right? It is a practical thing. It's that type of information that changes you. It's the type of information that kind of restructures your experiences and your expectations of life, right? Now, we've been at this thing for a very, very long time. How many of y'all have seen this image before? So what we got going on here, on this panel here, on this side, we have brain structures, right? We have the interior brain structures. You got the corpus callosum, you got the thalamus there, you got the pineal, the pituitary gland. And then over here, you got an ancient, you know, it's like a remake of ancient inscription in Kemet. Okay. And somebody in their brilliance said, whoa, this Jed pillar here looks like the spine. Right? And when you understand that Heru deals with consciousness to a certain degree, you know, you could also start to interpret all this other stuff going on here, especially if you could take this lateral view of the brain. Pretty slick, ain't it? This is our ancestral stuff. So when the folks start coming at you, telling you that your folks ain't did nothing, and they ain't know nothing, and all this stuff is pagan, and it's heathen, and it's wicked, and it's bass backwards. I said that like that on purpose. Right. Try not to cuss too much. And then, you know, we can cite, you know, we can go back and we see how it's been chiseled in stone. I mean, as Brother Browder shows us all the time. Our stuff is there. Can't touch it. Right. Can't do nothing with it. So the thing about the truth is that it's going to exist. You can't erase the truth. You can surround it with BS. You can cover it. You know what I mean? You can point people in the opposite direction of it. But guess where it's going to be? Where it is. You can't do nothing with it. So I want to keep moving. I know I get long-winded sometimes. You got 4 areas of psychology I want to deal with. And these 4 areas are identity, personality, consciousness, and emotions. All right, so those are the 4 areas that we're going to cover today, really quickly. And when we look at these 4 areas, I'm going to talk about it from the African worldview. All right, that's how we're going to deal with the African psychology, from the African worldview. So identity. Identity basically is who you are, what you are, how you are, right? All is based on what you think for yourself, right? What you think about when you are, what you think about where you are. When we're doing clinical evaluations, we have to see the client's orientation. And so we ask them 3 questions, right? We say, who are you? You should be able to tell me your name. We ask you, where are you? You should be able to tell me the location of where you are. And I ask you, when is it? And you should be able to tell me what today's date is. You know, and so I'm looking for orientation. Typically, if somebody cannot answer one of those 3 questions, there's something going on with them psychologically, meaning that they are disoriented, meaning that they have lost their way in space and time. Think about it for a second. If you can't tell me who you are, there's got to be something going on, right? If you can't tell me where we are right now, something's missing, right? And if you can't tell me that we're in 2017, right? And so later on in the conversation, I'm going to show y'all something from Dr. Amos Wilson's book, The Falsification of African Consciousness, where they did these experiments. They hypnotized some college students. I'll tell y'all the rest of it in a little bit. It's pretty slick, though. So with identity, we got all kinds of stuff going on, from pharaoh to laborer.
I remember seeing that one.
From pharaoh to laborer. Ain't it slick?
Wow.
This is what happens. My baby girl was opening a birthday present the other day when her friends got her at school. And this is how I counteract this stuff. And so on the box, there's nothing but little white girls on the box. I said, hey, baby, ain't no brown girls on the box. Right. She's like, dang, I know, huh? It should be. Because the thing is, it's not going to go past, it's not going to just seep into our subconscious.
Right.
It's not just going to find a place to plant itself.
Right.
You know, I'm watching movies with my kids, and I'm pointing out the product placement commercials in the background.
That's right.
I'm like, oh man, you see that when he opened up his computer? You see the Apple light on the back of it? That's an Apple commercial.
Right.
Now he pointed out to me, oh, Bob, look back there. That's a Starbucks commercial. Good. Awareness. Bringing them above that threshold to where the subtle, slick stuff, they can't get in there without them knowing it.
Right.
Y'all follow?
Yeah.
We get to that, that's in consciousness. But look at this stuff. Imagine the kid that's reading this in their book.
Right.
You got the sparrow here wearing a daggone double crown. Bama. He wish. Baba Tony, this would be when who took over? That would be when the Romans. 330 BC. That's Egypt. That ain't Kemet, right? Bama.
They got on the wrong stuff. Huh?
Look at it. That was the thing about guys in Egypt too, by the way. So I watched that movie. I watched it. I went to the theater and I watched it. I didn't wait for the bootleg. I went to the theater. I wanted it on the big screen. I took my son too. And I watched it and I studied film. And when I was watching it, I realized what they were saying in the movie. Is that these were the replacements. These were the guys that came in and conquered and took over. Because if y'all notice, the only African god of Egypt in that movie was who? Tahuti, right? Thoth, right? Yeah, Tahuti, right? And he said he was there from the beginning. He was the keeper of the records. He was protecting his ancestral records. While all these other folks is running around, fronting like they Ra, you know what I'm saying? Fronting like they Osset, you know, they was fronting. And he was in the lab protecting. He had like multiplied himself. He was handling business. He was the one holding it down for whenever we woke back up. Because we are simultaneously those waiting ancestors and the ones that they waiting on.
Right. Right.
That's us. And so Tahuti, that wisdom faculty, that insight, that divine knowledge base is out there just waiting on us to say, I'm ready. I'm a vessel that's ready and prepared to carry this. But this type of stuff, we got to burn it out. Dude is an initiate. He should be. We got the leopard skin. I'm going to figure this out in a minute. We're experiencing a process to where we're so out of touch and have such a bad, nasty taste has been placed in our mouth about ourselves that we'll go to great lengths to do things other than self. Y'all with me? And so let's go back to that orientation question. Who are you? If you cannot answer that, there's something wrong. And it goes beyond your name when we're talking about you as your true self. It goes beyond you being able to tell me your name. Y'all notice, like, if one of our Native American brothers and sisters in the room and I ask, who are you? You know, they give you the name. They talk who their mama is, their grandmama is, their grandfather is.
Right,
we
right.
might be here for 10 minutes listening to the names that they're rolling down because that's a connection that's there. Most of us, me personally, I can name my great-great-grandmama and great-great-grandfather, and that's as far as I can go. That's as far as I can go. We fragmented, y'all. African psychology, to me, African psychology in terms of African spirituality, that's the final frontier. That's the final frontier. We talk about what is it going to take. We say it's going to be economic. We got to band together and protest. We got to, oh, that's good. It takes all kinds, right, Doc? But there is a most efficient and most effective means for accomplishing the goal.